It's the two greatest words in sports, Game 7. And that's what we've got. After the Indiana Pacers defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder last night, it wasn't even close. Pacers run away and hide from OKC, having a 30-point lead after three quarters. That really was the significant part of the game. Fourth quarter, Oklahoma City had already thrown in the white towel. They put in their backups to start the fourth quarter. That's how one sided this game was. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams didn't even have to play in the final 12 minutes because they were not going to win this game. The Pacers were determined, they were enthused, they were desperate, and they came out and set the tone once TJ McConnell got in the game. And that really was the difference. TJ McConnell came in and kind of saved what was a little bit of a tough start for the Pacers. I thought they played well. They couldn't hit shots. They were creating some shots. They couldn't make them. Miles Turner, Tyrese Haliburton, Aaron Nesmith, they all had good looks at the basket and couldn't score early on. They fell behind 10-2. Next thing you know, it was tied. Pacers took a lead. But when TJ McConnell came in the game, along with Obi Toppin, it was lights out for OKC, and the route was on. Glad to have you on board for this special day after edition of the Sports Rush. It is early Friday morning, but it's going to be a great weekend, a busy Friday, and then on Sunday night, we've got some television viewing to do. Unless you're lucky enough to be going to Game 7, or I know somebody who's going to be going down to Indianapolis to celebrate and watch Game 7 in Indianapolis. But unless you're going to be part of the celebration of a Game 7, it's going to be watching it here in town or at home, whatever it might be, here in Fort Wayne. But it's going to be fun on Sunday night because something to look forward to all weekend long. But once again, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I need you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's the simple, kind thing to do. Just give it a click. It doesn't cost you anything. You're not subscribing or agreeing to receive tons of emails or solicitations. It's just simply something to do to help build this channel, and we certainly appreciate it. And on the way, if you can give me a thumbs up and like this video, if you can also share it, and we'd love to get your comments, anything you've got to say or add about the Indiana Pacers. But last night, certainly Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell came off the bench, gave the Pacers a spark. And here's the thing, I mentioned this, and we'll talk about Tyrese Haliburton coming up here in just a moment. But I said going into this game that if Tyrese Haliburton didn't play, I was okay with that if it meant 100% of Tyrese Haliburton in Game 7. And the reason I was okay with it is because I believe role players always play their best at home because they seem to get a bigger boost out of the crowd. And man, was that a great crowd last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. For those of you that were lucky enough to have tickets, I checked, and most of the tickets were going $1,000 or more, unless you wanted to sit way up in the very top of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I didn't want to fight the traffic to get a bad seat in the arena, quite honestly. Wasn't worth driving into the wee hours of the morning, fighting with traffic downtown, just to sit way up in the top of the arena, and it was still going to cost a few $100. So I watched it like the rest of you and just thoroughly enjoyed it. And the Pacers now have a Game 7 in Oklahoma City. Now, there were a number of key plays in this game. I thought the fast break where Tyrese Haliburton got the steal, got the ball into the front court, and then gave a no-look pass to a cutting Pascal Siakam, if I can speak properly. I know it's early. But Haliburton to Siakam in the transition, and a beautiful pass led him right to the basket. And quite honestly, he not only slammed it in, he got fouled on the play, and they didn't call it. And I thought for a game 6, and supposedly 3 of the best officials in the NBA didn't think it was a great, well officiated game. I thought that there was an abundance of whistles in that first half. Many of them I thought were ghost fouls. And it turned out one of them was, because they overturned it on replay, the foul that was called, I believe, on Miles Turner when he never actually even touched Hartenstein. But I didn't think it was greatly officiated. But they did foul Siakam. If you don't call it on the arm, you call it on the body, because they knocked Siakam to the deck as he fired in that slam dunk. That was a huge game, or huge play as far as momentum goes last night. Pacers defense was terrific, and they changed and added a couple of wrinkles. We'll talk about the wrinkles that we saw defensively. But let's talk about Tyrese Haliburton to start it off, because this was all the buzz going into the game, was whether Tyrese Haliburton was going to be on the court at all. And if he was, what real impact could he have trying to play through that calf strain? Well, he was very important last night. He hit a couple of big three-pointers. He was able to penetrate and get into the paint. And even though he only played 23 minutes, played less than half the game, I thought he was a pretty important part or piece of the Pacers' victory. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see what the Pacers got out of Haliburton. I saw virtually no signs of the injury. I don't know if you thought you saw anything out of Tyrese, but the way he was exploding to get to the basket, his defense, I didn't see anything that slowed him down with that calf strain. So kudos to the Indiana Pacers medical staff and training staff for having him what looked like nearly 100% in that game last night, even though we know he wasn't. Also, my concern was, if he played last night, how would the calf respond? And that's still to be determined. You know, you go in with a little bit of an injury, a calf strain, and then you push it before you really should. And could it come back worse for game 7? That was a concern. After the game, Tyrese Haliburton talked to SVP about the Pacers' mindset. I was a little concerned about what I heard, because the focus in both post-game interviews, and I'm trying to remember who the other interview was, if it was Obi Toppin or who it was, but both Pacers, including Tyrese Haliburton, mentioned that one of the Pacers' goals was to win on their home floor, don't disappoint the fans, and don't let Oklahoma City celebrate an NBA championship in Indianapolis. Now, was that the perfect answer? No, it may have been the truth, but it was not the answer I would love to hear. What I'd love to hear is, we're playing for a championship, and for us to get a championship, we needed this game. Period. Not about, let's avoid letting Oklahoma City celebrate a championship on our floor, because that in some ways implies that you're okay with Oklahoma City celebrating a championship on their floor. And that's what Tyrese Haliburton specifically said. We didn't want them to celebrate a championship on our floor. So I think they've got to kind of refocus and really think about what's at stake here. First ever NBA championship for the Indiana Pacers organization. It's been around since the mid-'70s. Proud history of ABA basketball prior to that. And so they've got to think about the fact they've got a chance to really make some history. Knock off the best team in the NBA. Knock off the NBA MVP this year. And now let's talk about what the Pacers did strategically, because I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this, watching the post-game shows, watching early morning television. I haven't seen a lot of talk about this. But what the Pacers did defensively, they backed off the full court. They were trying to wear down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander by guarding him full court. They backed off, decided we're going to go ahead and let you bring it into the front court, but that's where we will attack you. Because too many times they got beat and it forced someone else to pick up SGA once he got into the front court. And then you had a rotation, and the Pacers weren't great with their rotations, and they were giving up some open looks. But I thought they made a really brilliant adjustment in trying to say, okay, we've got to take him away from the half court because he's not going to beat us from the back court. And they did a better job of it. And I thought Nesmith was much better on Jalen Williams as a result, because now you didn't have to get caught in rotation or help side defense. You could actually focus on guarding Jalen Williams. But you had Nembhard guarding SGA half court. But what I thought was the key wrinkle was by guarding him half court, you also now could set up for a double team, which they haven't done hardly at all. I mean, they get a little help or someone comes up when he goes to put up a shot at the rim. But I'm talking about when SGA would dribble and turn his back on a defender, how the Pacers reacted to that. And it seemed like in the game plan, it called for the nearest defender on that backside. If you look at the back of the jersey of SGA, go and go quick. Double team him, try to sneak in, get a hand down low, and try to pick the ball out of SGA's hands. Because he got very uncomfortable after the Pacers did that a couple of times. And they stole it. I mean, 8 turnovers for SGA. It was not a good game for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And the fact I stumble over his name is why it's easier to say SGA. But they made him uncomfortable last night. Jalen Williams just never did find his rhythm and game. But I thought those double teams were brilliant. They realized that they were going in pound, 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 try to back you in, and that in doing so, they would turn their back on a defender, and that defender seemed to react. It's almost like they said in the meeting, if he's going ISO and he turns his back on you and you're the near help side defender or nearest defender, and you see his back, go. Don't hesitate, jump him, get there, and go in with the hands down low and try to pick the ball away. And they did it. McConnell did it. I'm trying to think. I think Shepard might have done it one time. But the Pacers were very good at that. They were causing congestion and traffic against SGA, forcing him into turnovers and mistakes. Nesmith did it one time, and when Nesmith did it, I think he got a hand up and deflected a pass that ended up being stolen. So I love that adjustment defensively. I'm sure OKC is going to game plan what to do in those situations and how to avoid them initially. But I thought it was a great adjustment by Rick Carlisle and the coaching staff to double on SGA. Tyrese Haliburton, we'll wait and see how the calf responds to 23 minutes of basketball last night. And now the Pacers have to go to OKC for a Game 7. But, man, you'd have taken this in a second. If somebody told you before the season started, the Pacers are going to get to the NBA Finals, and they are going to play a Game 7, but they have to play it on the road. Sign me up. I'm taking it. Great crowd last night. Great win by the Pacers. And it should be a great weekend here in Indiana as we count it down to Sunday night. 8 o'clock tip is expected for Game 7, which is probably like 8:08 or 8:10 or whatever it's going to be. Little bit earlier than some of these weeknight games, but still not quite early enough. Hope you have a great Friday. Enjoy your weekend, and let's go Pacers.